We're here tonight to honour Michael Qwock Chiasson by inducting him into the Waterford Sport Heritage Hall of Fame. Qwock was quite renowned for his driving skill in the sport of harness racing. In 23 years, Qwock had 448 lifetime wins and was leading driver for 3 straight years. Qwock was born in Chiasson, Cape Breto in 1907. There weren't many who knew him as Michael. I asked his daughter Tweety how he got the nickname Qwock. She told me that at the age of 8, he spoke very little English, and a quarter was a lot of money to a little kid. When he asked for a quarter, it came out Qwocktar, and was shortened to Qwock, and he was called that ever after. At age 14, he moved with his family to Waterford, where he found work at number 14 Colliery. When number 14 closed, he worked for a short time at number 12. He married Bernice McKenzie from Dominion and raised a family of 9 daughters and 2 sons. In the days before refrigeration, he was in the ice business, cutting it in the winter and delivering it in the summer. Qwock was known for his arm strength, as he also owned a sand and gravel business, loading his dump truck by hand.
Don't mind me. There's something on your back.
I
was told. Carry on.
Qwock was known for his arm strength, as he also owned a sand and gravel business, loading his dump truck by hand with a pan shovel. This enabled him to hold on to the strongest pullers and win many races. In 1954, he was hired by the town of Waterford as street superintendent, a position he held for 23 years. He retired in 1977 at the age of 70. He began his harness racing path in 1945 and drove for 23 years until a racing spill ended his driving career at the age of 60. He then went into a different phase of racing, serving as a racing official at the Sydney Sports Centre. He judged the Sport of Kings for a further 8 years. In retirement, he could be found jogging or training horses almost on a daily basis. During Qwock's career as a driver, he drove horses in Sydney, North Sydney, Halifax, Inverness, and Prince Edward Island. One noteworthy fact about his racing life is that he never actually owned a horse. He just drove. He also never bet on them. One of his favorite horses was Loretta Lee, who was owned by Dr. J.A. Roach. Another favorite was Bonnie White, owned by Big Archie McKinnon. In 1 year, he won 22 dashes with Qwock and the Sulky. According to Qwock, the fastest horse he drove was Acemore. He was owned by Dr. Roach and D.A. McKinnon. In 1 year, he had 21 wins and could pace around 207. Qwock drove on the older, heavier wooden sulkies. Today they race on the lightweight modified bikes. Even the harness today is lightweight. There were 8 horses on a racing card in Qwock's era. Today there are 12 to 15 dashes on a racing card. He never winter raced unless you counted ice racing on Lingham Bay. With today's better racing conditions, there is no telling how many more wins Qwock might have had to his credit. Qwock's driving services were always in demand. The little man with the big hands always gave a quality drive at a premium price, which was free for the asking. Most catch drivers in his day charged $10 for a drive. Qwock took a purely amateur approach when it came to financial compensation. Qwock drove all comers. Some of the horses he drove had superior abilities. Most of them were not. But regardless of their respective class, every owner was assured that they would get the best drive possible when they were entrusted in the capable hands of Qwock Chiasson. Qwock was a major force in the driving ranks at the Cape Breto Sports Centre until a spectacular spill in the late 1960s ended his driving career. He was behind the pacer Perky Z at a time when the lead horse, Emily Howe, driven by Don Kodak, fell abruptly to the track. 7 of the 8 trailing horses, with the exception of Eddie Grapes, who was parked on the outside, went down in a heap, hurling their drivers in the air. Both Qwock and Sonny Rankin were rushed to the hospital with serious injuries. According to Sonny, it was determined that Qwock had a broken leg. The nurses were trying to work on Qwock, but he kept insisting they work on me, said Sonny. That's just the kind of guy he was. Broken leg and all, he was still concerned for others. Qwock drove every horse to the best of his ability and drove every horse to win. It gives me great pleasure to see Qwock Chiasson inducted into the Waterford Sports Heritage Hall of Fame. Someone from his family could come up and accept the plaque.
think, nope, most of me know me by Tweety, not my name, Marie. But anyway, being the oldest in the family, I got hooked in for this. The oldest in the family here. I was known when I was going to school as the Pied Piper, because every time I went to school, I brought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little girls behind me, my sisters. And 5 of them are here, 4 of them are here.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and like I said, we're still going. Dad was strong, and when he said jump, you just said how high. But anyway, so that's all. I just want to thank on behalf of the family. There's 3 not here, 2 in Calgary and 1 in Toronto, all, but they couldn't get down, so I got hooked. So I just want to say thank you to
Ronnie?
Okay, now I'd ask Lowell Cormier to come back and to present inductee Michael Spike McKinnon, please.
This will be the last you'll hear of me this evening, I promise. It's a great privilege for me to introduce the hardest working man in the province, Spike McKinnon. It was 1937 that Michael Spike McKinnon was born to Cassie and Willie McKinnon. Spike was the youngest member of the family. His sister Teresa and brother Dan Willie are present here this evening. His brothers D.A. and Jelly, John Jelly, are deceased. Spike was married and is married to his lovely wife, Lucille, in 1964. Lucille is the daughter of the legendary basketball coach, Jack McKenzie. Spike and Lucille's 3 children, Paula, Lisa, and Keith, are present this evening. There you go, buddy, you're off the hook. You can relax. All these guys think I'm going to rip them, eh? I wonder why. Back in Spike's day, there was very little opportunity to participate in organized sports. Like many others of that era, Spike developed his athletic skills in the neighborhood and at Mount Carmel School. Sorry, that's just a fact. Spike basically concentrated on 2 sports growing up, basketball and baseball. He was an excellent basketball player who learned the sport at the Strand and Mount Carmel Gym. Spike was a key member of the New Waterford Strands during one of the finest runs in maritime basketball history, a run that ended with 9 maritime and Nova Scotia senior championships. Spike was, I watched him play, believe it or not. He was a deft playmaker. You can look that word up, Bernie. And a good outside shooter on the Marshall DeVoe coach teams. I couldn't help that. It wasn't planned. But it was the sport of baseball that led Spike to notoriety. In 1954, Spike's first organized baseball experience resulted in a Nova Scotia midget championship.